Today's life lesson is always close a deal before you even talk or post about it. Hey, what's up guys? It's Max. So in this video, I'm gonna tell you about how I lost $51,000 on a deal. Yeah, not 50, but $51,000 on a deal that I could have had, but I talked too early and I posted it on YouTube and I didn't get the deal. All right, so back when I started wholesaling, I was focusing on primarily on taxes and back taxes and probate properties because it was a niche that I kind of sunk my teeth into and really learned to understand how it flows in my state. So with that being said, in my early days, I used to send off letters after like my first deal. I used to have the envelopes. I used to send off the letters, you know, the yellow letters, but I used to print them with, you know, the handwritten type font. And I would use the little sponge to wipe them, put them in there. And then when I got more money, I started doing the self seals. But anyway, my point is I sent out letters back when I first started to get deals to people who was in probate, because what I learned that was probably the easiest way of actually reaching out to them. When the reality was I was doing that because I was scared and afraid to actually call somebody that was an heir of a probate property. So with that, I started sending out these letters. I got a lot of deals, but I started to learn that, you know, the best way to actually contact these people were actually on the phone. So I dropped letters. And then 2009, about a year and a half later, I get a call from a letter that I had sent in 2017. And I'm so excited because the truth is that following marketing and follow up with marketing is gonna always bring you fruits, right? They say your sale never happens until at least a fifth or sixth touch. Well, it's true in this case. So a year and a half later, after marketing to these people consecutively, I finally get the phone call and they invite me over to the house. I was so excited because the area where the house was just a growing, vibrant area, and anything that you can do in that area was gonna sell like gold. And it was probably even a property that I was considered holding on to. Usually when people go through probate, they usually have a longer process to sell the property. Some people are emotionally attached to the actual property, and sometimes you have to get things out of the home. And truly, there's a lot of process that goes through the court system if the person didn't have a will set up correctly, to where now the courts are involved and things has to get separated between family members and siblings and cousins and aunts and daughters. But anyways, you get my point here. So I get to this house, Francis and we start speaking with this actual lead because we know this is a great lead. We love flipping houses in this area. And this is what happens. It starts to be a long process. I know that this lead is not going to close anytime soon. And the lead actually lives out of the state. So when I start to see the problems that they were having with traveling back and forth and keeping the yard maintenance, because it's a very nice neighborhood, so you can't let your yard go, you know, uncut. So I start to offer them services to help, because that's what we truly do. We truly solve problems. And this elderly couple wanted to get rid of an asset that was handed down to them, and they really had no purpose. They really had they just didn't want it, but they wanted to get some things out of the house, and they weren't gonna fix and flip it. They weren't gonna turn into landlords. So it was a perfect situation for Francis and I to be able to help this couple facilitate this process of getting rid of this asset. So we offered to move stuff for them, offered to cut the grass, offered to, there was even times where Francis and I got a call to go over there to help them move an AC unit from the first floor to the second floor so they can continue to go through the things and separate what they want and what they didn't want. And every time that Francis and I buy a house, we always tell people, you do not have to take what you don't want. So if you don't want these things, leave them in the house. And because the first thing we're gonna do is drop off a dumpster or two, and we're gonna empty the house anyways as part of our process. So save yourself the headache of actually going out and hiring people to clean this house out and bring it to a certain condition. This is why we pay cash, and this is why we give you the offer we do, because we have a lot of these services built in. But moving forward, it takes me about 3 to 4 months of actually, now we have the contact. So you got a year and a half of sending letters, then you actually make contact, and you have a whole nother 3 or 4 months. Now, before I continue with the story, understand that this is kind of what the sale process may have to be with some of your best leads, some of your biggest deals, is you may have to contact them over and over again for months and maybe even years. And then when you actually make contact with them, you're gonna have to build rapport with them and spend time with them over months so that you convert them into a customer that actually wants to sell you their property. But we do know one fact. The fact is that over 95% of homes that go through probate are sold within 2 years. So within that guideline, we still have this same thing going. Now that we're offering these services, we're helping cutting the grass, we're helping moving ACs from downstairs to upstairs, we're now actually starting to build a rapport with the seller. And the final time we go to the house, and every time we go, I have a camera guy with me, right? Usually there to take pictures, usually there to make the video, because that's how you guys get these vlogs, especially the vlogs that I used to do back in 2017, 18, 19. I used to have somebody with me at all times, even inside the house, showing the raw conversations of how we close a deal, how we walk through. So since I have a camera guy with me, and we get to the point where now the sellers want to start to talk numbers, we sit down in the house. And as we sit down in the house, I'm starting to go through my traditional sales pitch. I built a great relationship with these people. We're on a first name basis. We have cell phone numbers, we exchange numbers and stuff. And we start to talk about the deal. And I break it down. Break down the deal, this is the price range we're looking for, what type of work we have to do, what we're gonna do when we're done with it, what we're gonna sell it for, what it costs us to sell, the typical spiel and pitch that you're gonna give, and the true fact and numbers of what we need to do. So one thing that I always tell everybody, when we go inside of a house, I never have to convince somebody to sell me their home. I simply lay out the plan. I tell them, listen, we're investors and we gotta make a profit. And most of the time I'm pushing people away and giving them other options as far as renting it out, renovating themselves, selling it with a real estate agent, whatever that they want to do. And then I say, if you don't want to do any of those, then I'm the guy that can buy it from you cash and you don't have to touch anything. So we come to a number. We negotiate for probably 35, 40 minutes. So it's not really negotiation. It's more of an explanation of what happens next and all these things. And we get to the point where they're almost ready to sign. And they bring up an objection. And the objection is, well, we have to deal with one sister that we're not sure. And I said, you know what, that's fine. I've built enough rapport with you. One of my rules is you gotta leave there with the contract, because if you didn't do it right. So in this case, I think I didn't want to pressure them into signing. They had to deal with a sibling that was also in control. In front of me is a settlement agreement. And I'll get to why I actually have a settlement agreement about a YouTube video with a customer that I spent so much time building rapport on, is because after we left that house, we get a verbal from the customer that they're ready about 2 or 3 days later. My team starts to edit the video and we say, hey, just put it up. We got the deal. Well, we didn't get the deal. And here's what happened. So one of the guys that owns the franchises around here actually got to go to the house after we did, just one last time. And what he did was he says, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, look at this video of you on there, somebody walking through your house and explaining the situation to you. Did you say they can do this? And I didn't. So the lesson that I learned before is now inside of all of my agreements is that we can use their like and kindness for marketing and videos and stuff like that. We have that in our agreements now when we work with the seller. I didn't have that. So the sellers truly, and if they wanted to raise a stink about it, they could. And the franchise guy helped them. And so anyways, we end up getting a call from my attorney. My attorney calls me and says, hey, we have a couple that is upset about you having them on video. You didn't ask for permission. And I know the spill. I know they're right. They're 100% right as far as that I didn't do it right. But I was more upset about losing the deal. It was a $50,000 profit flip, but I said I lost $51,000. Well, in this settlement agreement that I got from my attorney, I had to pay him $1,000 for that YouTube video that I had to take down that in 2 days had 10,000 plus views. So I lost $51,000 on a deal. But you know what? It's not the worst thing ever. It cost me $51,000, but I learned a lesson. And the lesson is just to cross all your T's and dot all your I's. So if you're in this business, make sure you do that, because I didn't. I forgot to get a waiver from the sellers to put a video up. And I know most of you think, oh, these videos are just, they're easy to do. Well, first of all, these videos are not easy to do, especially when you're at a house with a customer. You got to shoot it, you got to edit it, you got to frame it correctly. But then there's a legal side to having these videos. You have to get permission from that person that's on camera, because these videos, Google puts ads on top of them and then sends me some of the money. And now the video is monetized. So now they have a true case of actually being on somebody's platform especially when you're inside of their house. So I learned a lesson, cross my T's, dot my I's, and you should do the same. And this applies for more than just this YouTube video. You should do it with your entire thing. So if you have contracts, make sure you go over them correctly. Cross all your T's, dot your I's. If you're dealing with a seller, make sure you have your process that you walk them through. Cross all your T's, dot all your I's. So that's my story. $51,000 gone, a YouTube video gone, a deal that really was looking forward to flipping in a really beautiful neighborhood, gone. And then more importantly, a relationship with a potential seller, gone. Because most of my sellers actually turn into more business. So maybe I lost $51,000 on that deal, but I lost a lot more money with future business on them trusting me because I made one simple mistake by not asking them or getting them to sign a waiver or an agreement to use their like and kindness. So I hope this video of somebody like me making mistakes inspires you not to go out and make mistakes, but guess what? We all do. And as long as you learn from your mistakes, it's not a bad deal. So I hope you like this video. And if you do, smash the like button, subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a comment on a mistake that you made last year that cost you some money. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Peace. Hey, what's up, everyone? So today, ready to sell. You know, sometimes when people go through probate situations, these things go away. Turn that off.